Vancouver, in the southwest of Canada. For almost half of its 2.5 million population, English is a second language. Urban and wild, mountains and the Pacific Ocean, Vancouver has everything on its doorstep. Vancouver's centre is surrounded by ocean. From the south, two bridges connect the inner city. Many of the commuters take the boat, and Erica Reuter is at their service.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's the best view from an office window that you could get. There are no buses that go from point A to point B because there's this big creek in the middle of the city, which is kind of a nuisance. But if you're using the aqua bus, you just go right across and it's so much faster.
About 30 aqua bus ferries connect the south of Vancouver with the city centre. The route along the 8 stops only takes a few minutes. Erica is studying psychology. She's captain of the small passenger ferry 3 times a week.
As a woman driving a boat, you get a lot of different reactions, mostly positive. Mostly it's a lot of old ladies who are like, oh, it's so lovely to see, women driving a boat, this is awesome. And then there are other times where it's guys who say, oh, it's a woman driver, we better put on our life jackets. But mostly it's positive, and we have a lot of female drivers at Aquabus, so I think the more and more people see that, the less it becomes something to comment on.
On board, there's space for up to 12 passengers. Some are regulars.
Lots of hipsters, people who are pretty savvy, very well dressed. Everybody's so well dressed. In Vancouver, it's always a multicultural tapestry. There's just different neighborhoods from every possible culture you could think of.
There are more than 200 parks scattered throughout the city. Vancouver is green. Even Greenpeace was founded here in 1971. Vancouver has the smallest carbon footprint of all cities in North America. For Alan Garr, sustainability is a matter of course.
I could say that we're in the middle of an alpine meadow. However, we're right in the middle of Vancouver. We're in a very densely populated part of the city and standing on the biggest green roof in the country.
The roof of the Congress Centre is a home to 25 indigenous plant species, which also provide the building with natural insulation. It is also home to 50,000 bees. Alex takes care of them.
I'm allergic to bee stings. It's true. I found this out shortly after I started keeping bees, so I would have taken up bungee jumping, but all the classes were full, so I decided to study bees. We have a cooperative relationship. I make sure they're healthy, and if the weather and everything else works out, they give me honey.
The 4 hives produce 70 kilos of honey every year. Alan delivers it straight to the Congress Center's restaurant.
Most years, bees in the city do better than bees in the countryside, because in the countryside you have a crop, then it's over, so there's a dearth. Then you have another crop, and then there's a dearth. So you're hopping from one to the next. And here, it's in a good year, it's just a constant buffet of food, things that are blooming one after another, all you can eat.
The roof is only mown once a year. Wild growing weeds don't bother anyone in Vancouver.
50% of the people in the downtown core either walk or cycle or take a bus. So that means they're outside for part of their day on their way to work. People here are always out running, cycling, walking, bird watching, enjoying nature. We have probably the biggest park in the country, Stanley Park. We have the seawall, which goes all the way around the city that is in constant use. So I think that the outdoors is very much a part of the inside of the city.
The former coal port that now makes up part of the waterfront is a meeting place for urban athletes. Renee Scavington is the group's leader. They're practicing parkour, getting from one point to the next as efficiently as possible. The entire city becomes their training ground.
A lot of moves in parkour, or a lot of routes you choose to do, it's your own puzzle. So you put together the pieces of the puzzle, and if you're really good, you can pull off things with improvisation, but for the most part, it's pre-planned.
To find all the possible routes in a given place, the athletes explore the area again and again. A choreography that centers on obstacles.
We've never been kicked out of here. This has always been a good place. I've came here with one time 30 people, and we had a little stereo set up, and we've never really had trouble here. So it's always been a good spot to train. Sometimes because it's next to the seawall, we'll get some attention, and crowds will gather to watch. But it's pretty quiet today.
In 2003, Renee was one of the first to start practicing parkour in Vancouver. Now there are over 1,000 taking part in the sport.
Police are actually pretty cool about it in Vancouver. They'll get a complaint maybe from someone who's watching us from across the street or something and is concerned because we're climbing on a building and it looks like we're trying to infiltrate or something, and they'll call the police, and the police will show up and say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, you're doing parkour? Okay, be careful." And that's it.
Even an ugly courtyard can be a revelation for parkour practitioners.
There's a constant thing with parkour where you find a place with a wall and you have to touch the wall and you have to know what kind of grip is on it and how it feels like, if it is something that is going to be climbable or if you can tack off of it, and what your foot's going to feel like when it touches it. It kind of becomes just part of your life, as you're always just getting your hands dirty, touching railings, touching walls and things outside.
The sport combines running, climbing, swinging, vaulting, and jumping. The catch: the better you get, the more risks you take.
Sometimes the natural instinct takes over, the part of you that says, this is not a good idea. You're constantly trying to basically talk yourself into it sometimes until you feel it or until you've done enough practice to feel it.
As Vancouver can be cold and damp for weeks during the winter, Rene made his dream come true. 3 years ago, he built his own parkour hall, the first in Canada. He now has 15 employees and offers various courses, including children's classes.
Okay, so when we do this
Many of the parents were skeptical at first, but now Rene is even teaching parkour in schools.
We basically teach them how to do what they already want to do a little bit better. So all kids want to play, all kids want to jump off things, swing, climb. We just teach them how to do it a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently, with better movement and better control. I think we live in a kind of society where we're often told not to go too close to the edge, not to jump off things, to always be careful. You often see, sometimes even at playgrounds, parents try to take control of their kids. They try to pull them off or tell them not to do things. But there's definitely parents that see the value in getting their kids doing some sort of activity. And parkour just happens to be something that is really interesting for the kids. This is really something where it can just be about them.
In contrast to many other places, parkour is highly respected in Vancouver. Recently, the city built a park especially for parkour training.
In Vancouver, we can go to the beach, practice on logs and do flips and things. We have forests, we have trees, we have areas with large boulders and things. And a big part of parkour and the culture is becoming a more functional, healthier person. And I really think you need that to enjoy Vancouver.
Vancouver only became a city in 1886. The Native Americans, on the other hand, were already settled here 10,000 years ago. Sean Hunt is one of Canada's aspiring artists. He's from the Heiltsuk tribe, which is well known for its diverse art forms. Sean is a sculptor and painter.
These paintings are very fluid and a lot of shape-shifting going on where one creature sort of morphs into another creature. My father taught me how to carve and how to design from a very young age. Growing up with him and learning about our culture through the art, really, I have come to take the same forms and the same iconography, but really try to make it my own, really try to modernize it.
For a long time, Sean had a studio in the center of town.
The one thing about Vancouver is that a lot of people live in apartments, and these apartments are all glass. And so they don't have very many walls. You need a wall to hang a painting on. Frankly, it's so beautiful outside. I mean, how can a painting compete with, the mountains and the sea and, everything that's sort of going on? So it's a little challenging in that respect.
After 10 years, Sean turned his back on city life and returned to where he was raised, the Sunshine Coast. A stretch of coastline that's around 30 kilometers from Vancouver and can only be reached by ferry.
Many people come here to live or to vacation or because they want to enjoy the beauty of the place. But we're actually from here. This is where my people have lived for, 10,000 plus years. So we really feel like we're not trying to dominate nature. We want to live within nature and live in harmony with nature.
Away from the parties, the opening shows, and the hectic pace of the city, Sean and his wife Kate have found a place where they can focus on the essentials. How European immigrants treated the native population for a long time after their arrival is one of the darkest chapters in Canadian history and continues to have an effect to the present day. Up into the second half of the 20th century, a rigorous school system prevented the children from learning the language of their ancestors.
So I'm Celtic First Nation, and then from my mother's side, I'm Canadian of Scottish descent. And so I sort of have these two cultures coming together in me.
For his most recent artwork, Sean carves totem poles, takes them apart, and reassembles them into sculptures whose shapes are a play on Greek antiquity.
Europeans coming over, colonizing the native people here, and sort of feeling at the time that it was better if they were more European. I felt like by cutting up these totem poles, I was then sort of mirroring what our people have gone through and how our stories and our culture and our history has been cut up in so many different ways. And so I'm taking traditional artworks and reconfiguring them in the way a European would want to see them.
Sean's sculptures are modern urban concept art infused with the archaic language of form of his ancestors.
I started to realize that it was a great advantage, and not only could I create works that were interesting, but they could also speak to both sides. And instead of this barrier between the two cultures, I could act as a bridge between the two cultures.
Sikhs play a large role in Vancouver's cultural diversity. Around 100,000 live in the city's suburbs. It is the largest population of Sikhs outside of India. Janjit Dada is part of the community. He transports goods across all of West Canada.
Vancouver drivers are pretty good drivers, you know. Vancouver drivers are probably one of the best drivers in the world you'll find. They're not laid back, they're not aggressive, they're not dangerous, they're assertive. So they're very professional.
Janjit even spends his free time on the road. He was 15 when his parents left Punjab for Vancouver.
Everybody rode motorcycles in India, and when we moved here, I saw a few friends riding their bikes with turbans on, and only then I decided to get my license, and we started riding, and I've been with the club for 10 years now.
The Sikh Motorcycle Club meets twice a week for drives around all of Vancouver. The turban is a sign of their religious affiliation. In Vancouver, the Sikhs have special permission to ride without the legally required helmets. In 1999, club member Avtar Singh Dilhon fought hard for this concession.
I open door for my new generations. They can ride with the bike, with turban or helmet, their choice.
The Sikh Motorcycle Club has 120 members. The leather uniform obliges the members to good behavior. Any hooliganism is frowned upon.
We're not just some tough guys that just do motorcycle rides. We just want to show the world that we're good people. Your next door neighbor. It's where Canada has given us so much, facilities, and they have embraced us. So we just want to get back to communities too.
The bikers take their civic duty seriously. They recently raised $100,000 for children with cancer on a 12,000-kilometer motorcycle tour across Canada.
Thank you very much on that.
You throw this vest on with the logo, your chest just grows a few more inches, you just feel proud that I'm Sikh, proud to be Sikh, proud to be Canadian.
In 2014, the Vancouver bikers got the chance to lead the National Holiday Parade. Most drive Harleys, and speakers and loud music are a part of the ride. Bhangra, Punjabi pop music.
My buddy's like, you have the voice to do it. Why don't you just sing one song, professionally, just record one track. So sure enough, we did, and everybody liked it. From then on, we just do one track a year.
Janjit's songs and music videos have turned him into a local celebrity, but there's no intention of going global.
If I want to become famous, I have to go to India. I have to do all these tours where I wouldn't have enough time for my family. Right now, singing is my passion. Riding is my passion.
Bao Bay is one of Vancouver's hippest restaurants. There's not a single free table after 5:30. The secret behind the success, a stylish decor and a kitchen that fuses Chinese cuisine with other influences. The entrepreneur Tanis Ling calls her restaurant a Chinese brasserie. There's a bar serving cocktails to tide the customers over whilst they wait for their table.
Traditionally, Chinese restaurants are not like that. They're very bright. If you're eating Chinese food in a dark restaurant, then usually it means something bad in Asia. But I thought by combining those two concepts that it would kind of be the best of both worlds.
Tanis was not born into the restaurant business. It took a while for her Chinese parents to accept her career choice.
I never wanted to go to school. I never had dreams to do anything very professional. My mom's a dentist, my dad's an architect. I think as a child you're just like, no, I don't want to do what my parents do. I'm gonna be a bartender. So that's what I did.
After 10 years behind the bar, she jumped in at the deep end and opened her own restaurant.
Yeah, I took the risk. I mean, in my mind, it wasn't a risk. I mean, in everybody else's mind, my parents, my friends, the community, it was a big risk to open up a restaurant, especially in this neighborhood, which was struggling and, on the outer edges, and nobody was hanging out in Chinatown at that time.
The immigration wave at the end of the 19th century began with a few Chinese gold miners. It peaked at the end of the 20th century when there were around 300,000 Chinese living in Vancouver. Many had come from Hong Kong. Nowadays, those settling in Vancouver no longer move to Chinatown, but the suburbs, where there's more space.
I mean, Chinatown has always been a favorite place of mine because I used to come here quite a lot as a child. So in the 70s, early 80s, we used to come here to do all our shopping. That's when Chinatown was still thriving. Really loud, lots of smells.
Today, the Chinese are only a part of the many different minorities at home in Vancouver.
Vancouver's multicultural. I think it makes it unique that it has such a high density of Asian cultures. You see a lot of mixed couples here, a lot of mixed children. So I think it's interesting because in the future, in maybe 100 years, everybody will kind of look the same because we've all blended together into, you know, a chocolate vanilla milkshake. I think that's cool because it's kind of a seamless blending of cultures.
One of the Chinese dishes that has been served in Baobei from the beginning are chaozhe, steamed dumplings with prawn, meat, or vegetable filling. Every morning, 2 employees spend 3 hours preparing them. Together with her head chef, Joel Watanabe, Tanis has developed dishes that fuse Chinese and Western influences, such as tartare with ginger, quail egg and taro chips.
We both thought it would be interesting to have beef tartare, but instead of pickles, it would be pickled mustard greens, and instead of salt, it would be soy sauce. So there's a lot of the sweet, salty, savory elements of Chinese food in a traditional French dish.
It's not possible to reserve a table at the Baobei. On some evenings, the queue spills outside of the restaurant, where the artistic neon sign lights up the small side street. Andrew Hibbs made this. The designer comes by regularly to maintain it.
I've been bending neon for 10 years now, and it was one of the first ones I helped lay out, so that was really challenging. There's so many different bends and different colors and everything else, right? It took a long time, but it turned out awesome. I love it.
There are many spots in Vancouver that boast signs from Andrew's workshop. There's a neon tradition here. In the 1950s and 60s, there were 19,000 neon signs, more than in any other Canadian city.
So this is Granville Street, one of the most popular streets in Vancouver. And this is where it had all the neon signs. It had just lines and lines of neon signs, looked like Vegas. And that's what the city got mad at. They didn't like the look of Vegas, so they made them all take it down. And I'm not actually sure why the neon came back. I think the retro came back in style, and people realized how cool the signs were back in the day, and they all missed it. So they changed the rules, and it just makes the city look so much cooler. We see the Vogue Theater. That's what I worked on with my dad. My dad did the original one, and I got to work on it about 6-7 years ago. We both split sides, so he did one side, I did the other side, and we got to share the project, so it's really neat working on with him before he kind of semi-retired. That was probably the last project I got to work on it with him. Typically, we expect 8 years out of a neon sign, but I've had some signs out there for 20 years, and they're still going. You can see the neons flickering, and the wires deteriorate and then eventually loses gas. So you cut them off, weld new electrodes on, and repump the gas, and then it's good to go.
The tighter the curves in the neon writing, the harder it is to maintain the air pressure in the fragile glass tubes so they don't break.
You gotta have a lot of patience because you break a lot of glass. You gotta have to have skill with your hands, good hand-eye coordination. You burn yourself and you cut yourself a lot, so it's a little tricky, but it takes about 5 years to learn to get good at it. So a lot of people don't want to do that 5 years of practice, so they back out.
Andrew heats the glass tubes to 1,500 degrees. Only then can they be molded and the separate segments joined. Then comes the crucial moment. The air in the tubes is replaced by the neon gas. A short jolt of 15,000 volts removes any remaining impurities. Finally, Andrew connects the elements to the electrodes, and the current causes the gas to glow.
It's hard to describe, but after putting so many hours into something and seeing it come to life, it's an amazing feeling. I can't explain, it's just hard to explain, but it's really cool to see people's works of art come to life, right? A typical neon sign doesn't use too much power. It's maybe 220 watts, which is pretty much like a light bulb. So people think LEDs are really good, but neon's just as good. With the humming and stuff, you'll get that with outdoor stuff, just because it'll be on metal or something, and electricity doesn't like metal, so it'll buzz, it'll hum, but that's part of neon.
The production process is highly complicated. In Andrew's workshop, everything is done by hand, and every sign is unique. Clubs and restaurants are especially keen to spend money on such exclusive calling cards. Alongside making the new signs, Andrew's work consists of maintaining the old ones.
There's not very many people that do neon bending anymore. Everybody's getting older that learned, and they're retiring, or they're just leaving the industry just because there's not a ton of work. I always ask myself, if I won the lottery, would I still bend neon? And the answer is yes. I'd just do it in a different style, do what I want. I'd do more artsy pieces and just really funky, cool stuff to hang on the wall. But I wouldn't do it fully.
The Canadians' love of the outdoors goes so far in Vancouver that some even paddleboard by night. Waterproof LED lights make it possible. After LA and New York, Vancouver is the film city in North America. Around 50 productions are being filmed at any one time. Series such as Supergirl and blockbusters like X-Men. This Hollywood of the North creates thousands of highly specialized jobs.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, I'll hold it.
Yeah.
Here longer.
Set.
Set.
1, go.
The flight and getting the height, that comes from the wires. So I'm not really doing too much of the jumping. I'm looking like I'm jumping, but basically the wires are helping with the jump. I'm doing the flip.
There you go.
I've done a few where I'm playing like a fairy or something, or you're sort of flying around, Peter Pan, like all those sorts of ones where you're sort of flying around. It's all wires.
And 3, 2, 1, go. There you go.
Maya and Jeff Aro are stunt performers and married.
You were bending your knees.
They work out the movements for their scenes together. Maya is in high demand, as she's petite enough to body double for the Hollywood starlets, whilst also being very strong. As stunt performers can often only prepare for their scene on set, Maya and Jeff have built a training area into their home, with a martial arts corner and climbing wall.
Our living room is our training space, and we actually styled this living room after Lara Croft's living room and the Matrix dojo. So if you look, all the windows and stuff kind of style like the Matrix, and then the way all the rigging is in the ceiling, it's kind of like what Lara Croft has, where she can, you know, she does her bungee ballet. So we kind of have all that stuff in here that's just like a mashup of those movies that we love. That one's called a face-off. Because I fall forward and then I spin at the last minute.
In this line of work, your life can depend on your partner. Absolute trust is essential.
So in this instance, this is probably where someone has maybe kicked me in the stomach, and I'm just gonna go flying into that wall over there.
Go. Set.
Set.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go.
As a stunt performer, scrapes, cuts, bruises, those are pretty common. Like something like this, if I was doing that on set, I'd probably have to do it. Depending on the camera takes and camera angles, I'd have to do it a bunch of times in a day to a hard wall. So I'd have to prepare myself to, you know, not get hurt. So I have to do it over and over again. Well, for me, I mean, and most stunt performers, we love doing what we do. Like, we love, and I always say, I get to do all the fun stuff. I get to do all the fun stuff the actor's not allowed to do. And then I get to walk around on the street and nobody knows who I am. So we have an Olympic-style trampoline bed, if you want to take a quick look over here. Even just jumping on the trampoline for 10 minutes every day, you know, it's just sort of lets some good endorphins go. If you had a rough day, just kind of go jump on the trampoline. You know, you can't really not smile or have fun when you're jumping on a trampoline. We designed the whole house basically to be a training area, play area. So our rooftop is actually covered in decking material, so we do yoga up there. Sometimes we sleep up there in the summer. But then there's different sort of levels of roofs as well. In the back over where I park my car, we actually have that 14-foot gap. And we actually made that where we could jump off of that. So we've done that a bunch of times. As just like a fun little play day. We're like, let's jump off the roof.
When she was younger, Maya was a professional ski racer. Mountain biking helps her keep fit.
I love Vancouver specifically because there's so many things outside to do. You can ride on every one of the coastal mountains around Vancouver. So you can start at the top where you've got great views of the coast, great views, and then you're, you know, ripping down really, really cool trails and you end up right in the city. And I think that's a bit unique.
Under the green roof of the Congress Center, there is an annual design show featuring designers from all over the world. Kate Duncan is a Vancouver local. She designs and creates luxury wooden furniture. Kate's work is known beyond Vancouver.
That's my name. It feels a bit weird sometimes to have my name as a brand. The brand and the pieces, the work is luxury. It's high end, and so it definitely comes with a luxury price tag. I think it's hard to get people to understand that it's really high quality craftsmanship.
Before Kate started making her own furniture, she was teaching young people carpentry at training college and in prisons. Whilst recovering from a serious motorbike accident, she started sketching, and a plan for her own collection soon emerged. Kate uses traditional joining technique. There is no need for screws and nails in her designs.
A few years ago, I met a woodworker that I really admired, and he was complimenting me on the work. And I was like, oh no, it's just whatever. And he kind of stopped the conversation mid-sentence and said, no, your work is really good. You need to hear this. And he went on to kind of mentor me in a way, just to tell me not to do that, to tell me to own it and be proud of it.
Even in liberal Canada, woodwork is a male-dominated profession. During her training, Kate was the only woman.
There's this kind of space between, hi, my name is Kate and I'm a woodworker, and the other person really hearing that, hey, this is Kate and she is actually a woodworker. There is a period of time where I have to kind of prove that that's true. It's like a little dance that happens between me and a client, or me and a supplier, or it takes some time. One another, so like these are all ended up flush.
Before a sketch becomes a final piece of furniture, Kate has to build endless prototypes.
I went through many prototypes and had many people come in and sit in the chair. Is it comfortable? Is the back too high? Is the back too low? Is the angle right? Is it tippy? Is it wobbly? Do you feel good in the chair? There's so many factors to consider. A successful piece of furniture is one that's used and isn't gonna break or fall apart, that is gonna last and last.
Vancouver was initially a lumberjack settlement. In the Pacific Northwest, there are over 50 indigenous tree species. The range that wood traders can offer here is unique. Kate prefers the Oregon oak and walnut tree.
And it's definitely a hard kind of concept to see a tree and then a slab and then a stick and then a piece of furniture. That's like a big stretch to kind of follow that through. So when I see a tree and I kind of consider it as my material, I'm kind of gobsmacked by just the size and the beauty of them. I love being here. It's neat. It's great to kind of come into the city and work and busy, but then right over a bridge, it's gone. It's just quiet. It's almost like a big reset button where you can just go and kind of let it all go, get kind of fed, and then come back to the city and go.